Well, it is actually, I find it quite tough when there are very high expectations. I try to actually tamp down those expectations as to be possible. In fact, I've gone on record several times as saying that the stock price is higher than we have any right to deserve. And that's for sure true based on where we are today and have been in the past. So the stock price obviously reflects a lot of optimism about where Tesla will be in the future. And now the thing that makes that quite a difficult emotional hardship for me is that those expectations sometimes get out of control. And I hate disappointing people, and so I'm trying real hard to meet those expectations, but that's a pretty tall order, and a lot of times it's really not fun, I have to say. A whole lot less fun than it may seem. I don't ever sell any stock unless I have to for taxes. So I've said publicly I'm not going to take money off the table. I'll be last. I'm going down with the ship. So I'll be the last to do it. I really wouldn't recommend anyone start a car company. It's not a recipe for happiness and freedom.
The stock goes through these huge gyrations, for seemingly arbitrary reasons. And then I'm asked to explain why it changed. I'm like, I have no idea. Yeah, right. On balance, that's still good. But when the stock price is way higher and people ask me what I think of the valuation, I said, well, I think it's probably more than we have a right to deserve. We'll try to get there in the long term, and I think we will, and probably exceed it. But I would not try to justify it. That does seem pretty high to me. It's like, yeah.
I don't really follow the stock that much. So I think sometimes the stock moves for random reasons, and if that ends up being a mood barometer, then it's not a happy laugh.
If somebody's a long-term holder of the stock, I think there's a lot of appreciation that will occur in the long term. In the short term, it's difficult to predict these fluctuations.
The average person really has no idea about whatsoever. Not just the average person. Smart people on Wall Street have usually not the faintest clue about manufacturing and how difficult it is. I think that once you have come up with a prototype, well, that's the hard part, and everything else is trivial copying after that. It is not. That is perhaps 1% of the problem. Large-scale manufacturing, especially of a new technology, is somewhere between 1,000% and 10,000% harder than the prototype. I would really regard at this point prototypes as a trivial joke. I'm also not trying to convince people that much. The results will speak for themselves. My premise is never to try to convince people why they should invest in Tesla. Sell your stock. I don't care.
Nobody's a CEO of a company forever. Eventually, they carry you out. So, in my case, it is quite difficult, I have to say, being the CEO of two companies. And it was never my intention to be CEO. I tried to actually not be CEO quite hard, and eventually it was either that or the company wasn't going to make it. So, or at least I had to give it a try. What I've committed to is to be CEO of the company through volume production of the third generation car. So that's somewhere in the 4 or 5 year time frame. And then I'll have to see how things are going at that point, and whether it's if it's sort of manageable to do that on a personal level, without getting burnt out, essentially, then I'll keep doing it. Otherwise, I'll probably have to find someone else. But we've got a lot of time to sort that out. I think I will certainly be CEO for say 4 or 5 years, and then it's sort of TBD after that. But that's the commitment I made to people at Tesla and also to investors is that I'm going to make sure that we execute through the high volume affordable car at a minimum, and then we'll evaluate at that point. I might not be the CEO of Tesla, okay, but I think I will certainly be with the company forever. I'm committed to stay at Tesla as long as I'm alive. So if I'm not dead, and what I have said is that I'm committed to be the CEO through volume production of the mass market car, because that's what I set out to do. So once I've, many years ago, set out to do that, accomplish that, then I'll reevaluate whether it makes sense for me to be the CEO or whether perhaps somebody else should be the CEO, and just spend time on kind of product development and engineering, which is what I like to do. I'm not sure most people, if you'll actually realize that most of my day is actually engineering and design. It's not anything, it's what I spend 80% of my time on. To be clear, I'm very pro-Earth. When I say, us becoming a multi-planet species or making life extending life beyond Earth, expanding the scope and scale of consciousness, from a resource standpoint, I'm talking about less than 1% of Earth's resources should be dedicated to making life multiplanetary or making consciousness multiplanetary. So, I think it should be like somewhere in between how much we spend on lipstick and how much we spend on healthcare. Like, things like for the preservation of consciousness, we should spend maybe slightly more than we spend on cosmetics. That's my, and I'm pro cosmetics. I like it; they're great, but there's probably worth spending, I don't know, somewhere like at least 0.5% of Earth's GDP on extending life to be multiplanetary. Maybe 1%, I'd say, seems like a good use of resources. But then we have like 2 orders of magnitude more resources spent on Earth. So it's not like it's somehow going to fundamentally impair Earth. If like I said, just 1% of Earth resources on that order should be enough to make life multiplanetary. It seems like a wise investment for the future. The thing about Mars is that I think it's important for us to take the set of actions that are most likely to continue consciousness into the future. What increases the probability of consciousness of continuing into the future? I think we should not take it for granted that consciousness will continue because we have not encountered any aliens. Where are the aliens? Among the set of actions we can take that are likely to increase the scope and scale of consciousness such that we are better able to understand the nature of the universe, one of those actions is to become a multi-planet species or ensure that life is multiplanetary. Not because I think something that it's not from the standpoint of it just being an escape hatch or because I think that Earth is doomed, but there's a certain probability that is irreducible that something may happen to Earth. Despite our best intentions, despite everything we try to do, there's a probability at a certain point that some either external force or some internal unforced error causes civilization to be destroyed, or sufficiently impaired such that it can no longer extend to another planet. It's hard to say. Let me put another way. This is the first time in the 4.5 billion year history of Earth that it's been possible to extend life beyond Earth. Before this, it was not possible. How long will this window be open? It may be open for a long time, or it may be open for a short time. I think it would be wise to assume that it is open for a short time, and then let us secure the future of consciousness, such that the light of consciousness is not extinguished. And we should try to do this as quickly as possible.
When hiring, I really just ask people to tell me the story of their career or their life, and why they go from one thing to the next, and to tell me about some of the most difficult problems they solved, and in detail how they solved them. And whoever didn't really solve the problem, they don't know the details. But yeah, we do recruit, like I said, when we're looking for people at SpaceX, we look for evidence of exceptional ability. Frankly, I don't care if somebody went to college or not.